May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. Welcome to our first live stream for FanGirl Friday Live. Yay! Yay us. We are going to have some fun. We're going to learn a lot. We do know that even though we've been losing track of time, today is not Friday. We do know that. But we couldn't resist launching this on a Monday, May the 4th, because it is one of the biggest days of the year that is a day for fandom. It is Star Wars Day. Our business, FanGirl Licensing and FanGirl Consulting, is really about unlocking the fandom everywhere. So we couldn't resist launching this event on this wonderful day. So all future programming will come back on Fridays, but today we're going to start off on Monday. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're really happy to be here and hopefully have some fun with you and share some insights. Please drop us some comments, questions, likes, share, whatever you like. In the future, we'll be, taking all of that in and hopefully tweaking it for the better. So again, the company is FanGirl Consulting and Brand Management. That is our boutique licensing consulting agency. My name's Anita Castellar. Let's start with that. If you don't know, I am the fangirl behind FanGirl Consulting, and it's been something that I've been doing all my life, basically. It's an extension of my own personal branding. I have been a fangirl all my life. I've, grown up on Star Trek, Voltron, Trans-Z, like all that stuff. Love it. Have always loved it. And I'm very fortunate that in my career, I was able to express that and actually unlock the business behind the fandom, which will be the kind of ongoing central theme to these live streams. So we'll talk about community, we'll talk about, touchy-feely things that are really not scientific for the business behind fandom, but we'll also talk about the science and the technology and the different things that go into that as well as we do unlock that business. My name again, Anita. I have been a part of fandom all my life, even in my career. Started at the Disney theme parks, worked over at Hasbro on the Star Wars Master Toy license, had the good fortune to join up with the Lucasfilm team on the licensing program. And a couple years ago, decided to start the company along with Orlando Castellar. He's actually running the camera. Shout out to Orlando. He's our executive fanboy, CFO, COO, manager of cameras. And, all around, we kind of divide and conquer. We're going to introduce you to some of our newest additions to the company, which we're really excited about. And so let's kick it off, right? So let's talk about fandom. Today, we're going to talk about the fans, the fan communities, and what draws us to that. All with the idea, again, of keeping the central theme of unlocking the fandom and unlocking the business behind the fandom at the central core. So let's talk about how we enter into that portion of the business today. So I'm going to introduce our two guests here. As you can see, we're trying to socially distance as much as we can. Please keep yourself safe and wash your hands. But we are, in our county, we're able to have smallish gatherings. So that's why I was able to recruit my son, Nando, actually, and recruit Nikki here to join us for this live stream and, share their points of view on fandom as well. So, Nando, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll talk about what you like.
Okay. Well, as she said, I'm her son. So, let's see. I am a little bit about me. I'm actually graduating this year, class of 2020. So, you can think about that how you will. But I'm getting through it. I will be starting college in the fall. So whether they clear in-person classes or do virtual, I'm pretty much locked in. I'll be going to Full Sail and majoring in video game art. So that's kind of one of my fandoms, video games. I love so many different types of genres and so many different types of games. They really helped me understand a few core values as a kid. Like when you're still impressionable, you see all these heroic people and whatever. And it just really instills in you. I obviously love Star Wars. I'm wearing the merch. It's May the 4th. It's been there since I was a kid, since I was basically breathed into this family. It's one of those things that I've been constantly a part of, and I chose to be a part of it, though. It wasn't that I'm in this family so I like Star Wars. It's I'm in the family, I'm exposed to it, I like it, and we get to bond over it. Dragon Ball, but anime as a whole, specifically Dragon Ball though, for me, is just one of those big things, one of those big core, like keep with it your entire life sort of things that I can trace back to watching it with my sister Thursday night, 8 p.m., in front of the TV. What's going to happen this time, right? So those are just a few things. I have so many others, but those are just a few things that I consider myself to be huge fans of and that I can really relate to with other people.
Perfect. Nikki, let's hear about you.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Nikki. I am currently an intern here at FanGirl. I am a fourth-year student at Florida State University majoring in marketing, and I'm also class of 2020 actually, I'm graduating in the fall. So it's a little bit out there. Kind of funny with the marketing thing is fandom brought me there too. I love K-pop. That's probably my biggest fandom above anything else, and I always love watching how companies were promoting artists and how everything went behind that. So one day my mom was like, since you just talk about this, make it useful.
And practicality.
Yeah, so I was like, well, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that when it came to selling something? And so mom was like, that's called marketing. That's kind of how I ended up this way. So like I said, K-pop is a huge thing for me. I just came back from spending a year and a half in Korea. Again, couldn't have been there if it wasn't for learning to love the culture and everything through this music. And then I guess another really big thing for me, which was my introduction to fandom as a whole, was Pokemon. I remember being a kid and having like my giant binder. I had something like 2,000 cards. And my mom...
You can bond over that.
Yeah. My mom thought I was like the biggest loser. My dad was like, yes, my kid's a nerd. And like we were just talking about Pokemon earlier, how I just, because we were stuck in quarantine, I got a Switch and I was like, cool, I'm gonna play Pokemon Let's Go, and I chose Eevee because Eevee's adorable. And I, for 3 days straight, played and finished the game. So even now, almost 20 years later than from when I first started, I'm still in love with it. So it's really just been carrying me up until now.
Well, it's interesting you bring up an interesting dynamic just now around how, first of all, they knew each other way back because I'm friends with your mom, full disclosure. Yeah. Very another talented woman that has been in the world for quite some time with me. But they fell out and didn't know each other for a long time again, and then they came back together. So let's say they just met each other today, right? And already they're bonding over something in common, and that was Pokemon. And I was listening to your conversation earlier around the characters and Pokemon Go and all the different things that you both liked around Pokemon. So for me, that goes to the larger themes around what draws you guys to your fandoms, and then that connectivity, right? Like how it can connect you to lots of different things. And I'll start with me as far as like, Star Wars was obviously a big deal in my life and in my family. I was a fan personally, but it wasn't my biggest fandom, right? It wasn't the biggest draw of, from when I was a kid. But it became the biggest factor in my career and in my personal life. And I had the very good fortune to be able to share that with my family. So I would take my kids and, to the Star Wars celebration events, and they would come to my office and play with all the new toys, and they would be my test subjects, and I would test all the things on them, new toys. But the thing that we always found, what I found was amazing, was that we could bond over Star Wars no matter what it was. And we were mad at each other about any other thing, but we could always talk Star Wars, and that would bond us together. And we had a tradition which comes to an end tonight with, Ahsoka's storyline and Clone Wars. And that was really where we had a tradition where we started Friday night pizza and video games, Band Hero and all kinds of things like that. And then we was butts in the chair 8 o'clock on Friday nights watching Clone Wars. And it continued even to this day, where they started the last season, and we're still doing that now. We still have pizza on Fridays no matter where we are, and we've moved around a lot. And now we have pizza with Clone Wars again, and to have that feeling of coming full circle and having it come on this day, us doing this live stream, me doing it with my son, and it's kind of really special for me. But it's something that drives the fandom, right? To go back to that point there. And so the traditions, the multi-generational aspect, the fact that other families like mine are doing the same thing, that's very powerful. And that's a very powerful piece to a brand and a franchise, that emotional draw. So for you guys, you mentioned some of the fandoms that you're interested in. What are the emotional draws for each of you? And I think I'll start with you this time. So,
for me, one of the big emotional draws, especially for K-pop, was when I started in college. I was really this introverted kid. I was kind of terrified of everything when I started. My first semester was literally go from my dorm to my classes, and then at night every day my school would show a movie in our theater, and I'd watch that and I'd go home. There was no interaction with people. It was so sad. And I was like, Mom, this is great. It's a great time. I have so many friends, and my friends were like my albums. And going into that one day, all of a sudden,
she knows that now, by the way. Like, I'm sure she's listening, and she knows now that.
I have friends now, Mom. It's true. Well, actually, I have friends, but and it was really not until that second semester when I met people that with K-pop, a huge way for us to express how we love it is through dancing and covering the dances. And I remember seeing a few people doing the dances, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Like, people are doing that. And then I got invited to start dancing with them, and then I got involved in this club. The next year, I started having so many friends that second semester it was just like a complete 180 from my first semester. And then going into the next year, I was running this club with a bunch of people. We were performing not just in our school, but around Tallahassee, in Orlando. We were posting videos online, and even I think our biggest video has almost 20,000 views.
Wow, let's check it out. We'll post the link in the bio.
And so it was making all those friends and really just being able to sit with each other. And obviously it wasn't a 24/7 discussion of K-pop, but it was being able to find those friends who had that thing in common was really that huge emotional draw for me. Was I finally had this group of friends that I felt really comfortable with.
So you enjoyed K-pop, but it was really what kept you in K-pop was the actual community piece of it, right?
Yeah, because you love something, but then being able to be around people that are so much fun that also love it just really boosts that for you. Because sure, I'll like a band, but if none of my friends like it, then I'm just like,
yeah,
but
not as enjoyable.
When I started having these friends, I remember we went down to Miami for a Card concert. Obviously, Card, not many people might know, but we went in a group. I think it was like 4 or 5 of us. And it was so exciting, literally just waiting to go inside.
Yeah. Just
talking with each other, and then being at the concert and being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So those types of things was...
I've heard that a lot at fan conventions, right, Nando?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so really just having that sense of people around you to do it is just makes it so worth everything that you put into it.
Do you think that that's similar for you? Even though you're talking about a music genre, you're talking about a different type of genre. What is that, like a similar emotional draw and factor for you?
Yeah, definitely. Like, community is definitely a driving factor for anything you do, whether it's computer building or whether it's, deck building. People like to build like with their families, or they like to work on projects together, whatever it is, or they like to be able to talk about whatever they're doing with whoever, regardless of what it is. So yeah, definitely for me, like, I guess Dragon Ball is a huge example, but like, I mean, I love Naruto. I love like all the old animes, like Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm just gonna drop a few names, like Yu Yu Hakusho, like all the good names, like big animes that people who watch this can relate to. And so it doesn't stop with, hi, I like Dragon Ball. Thank you for talking to me. It's like, hi, I like Dragon Ball. Oh, you do too? Cool. What else do you like? Oh, wow, neat. And then suddenly you've got a friend, right? Like, that's just how it goes. For me, Dragon Ball is a huge thing. I'm a huge fan of, like, progression. Like, I love being able to start somewhere and then see how far I've come from that moment. And so, for anybody who's watched Dragon Ball, that's the premise of the show. It's just continual progression and self-betterment through struggle. Like, that's the entire purpose of the show. Yeah, it's like cool, flashy fight scenes. Ooh, they look cool, right? But that's the underlying purpose of all of it is like, it's progression. And so that's what drives me towards that. And yeah, definitely having other people to talk to about it, or go to conventions, or scream the fact that Sean Schemmel's doing a worldwide Kamehameha or whatever. Like that is big. That's what keeps us together.
So why do you think, being part of fandom or fan-driven franchises are just becoming so big now, right? I mean, you guys are kind of in the thick of it. You don't really remember a time like I do when it wasn't this mainstream driving factor of community, right? It was almost like an underground community, an underground type of culture that, especially for girls, right? Especially for women who wanted to be part of fandoms that were for boys, quote unquote, for boys, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I'd run home and watch G.I. Joe and Thundercats and Silverhawks and like, things that girls weren't watching. Like I wasn't watching Rainbow Bright or Care Bears. That wasn't just my thing. Like anything had a giant monster in it or Kung Fu Theater or a giant robot, like that was there. That was me, and I still am. Which is like my Pacific Rim and, Godzilla and whatever. But, especially when I was younger, though, that wasn't mainstream. And there was a stigma that went with it. And there were stigmas that went with boys liking those types of things, too. So what do you think about that now and stigmas or lifting stigmas or if there are any? What do you think about all this stuff?
I think one thing is just over time, we become more and more open to different things. I think even from when I was younger to now, when I first liked K-pop, everyone was like, well, you don't even understand the language. Why do you like it? And I liked it for like almost 10 years before I finally understood Korean. But it's just being more open from being, well, that's different from what I like, so that's disgusting, to being like, well, if you like it, then that's cool. As long as you're not hurting anyone, we don't care. Which I think is a big thing, is everyone just wanting to do that. And then I think another thing is, which we talked about kind of earlier before this, was that generational effect on it. On your generation was kind of really one of the first ones falling into having all these fandoms. Before there were...
I'm not that much older than her. Go ahead. Just saying.
I mean, my year is the start of a new generation, so technically you could be 1 year older and it's another generation. But I mean, you have comic books going and cartoons going all the way to the 20s and 30s, but at that time it really wasn't that intense fandom. And then you get into our parents' generations, you guys, and that's when you guys are really getting Star Wars, Star Trek. You were getting, like you were talking about, Thundercats and all those types of things. You had it. So now we don't have the parents being like, obviously some people do, but for the most part, we don't have parents being like, well, that's kind of weird. Or we have the parents being like, this is cool. And then we like it. And you guys are like, yes, that's so cool. So it's having that parental support and being able to bond with the parents. I think that's really a big factor on it, is having multi-generations into it.
You feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to community, right? Like being able to share that with anybody under the sun is like going to like enhance the way you feel about it. Like being able to go to conventions and be like, if you ever get the chance to go to Star Wars Celebration, I've been fortunate enough where I've been able to, but if you go to Star Wars Celebration, it is literally called Star Wars Celebration. Like you go there, there's people there like other things, right? But they're there for Star Wars. So you go there and suddenly it's like all these barriers have been removed. You don't have to hide. You don't have to like restrict the way you speak about it, because everybody's there for the same reason. You don't have to be like, oh yeah, well they have laser swords and they, shoot things. Like no, you could literally be like, wow, Han Solo, and like, wow, Chewbacca, and oh, did you see Episode 7? Or
you don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah, and you can freely speak. That's the thing. It's freedom, and it's freedom in a protected area, because nobody there. Oh, there might be those certain people that are like me. I'm not gonna lie. They just dive really deep into it, and they love it because of whatever reason, but then they want to know everything they can about
encyclopedia effect.
Yeah, so like they want to learn and learn and learn. That's how I am, to be honest. So like Star Wars is huge.
You can school me on something. So I think we have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a question from Mark Edwards. And the question is, what characters or franchise speaks to you on an emotional level?
Ooh.
Who wants to go first?
I was just talking, so if somebody else wants to go, they can.
Oh my gosh. For me, I guess something in an emotional level is like the Studio Ghibli.
Oh,
that was really
good.
one of my first introductions to Asian culture overall was through Spirited Away. And even now I watch it and I'm like, oh,
incredible.
Yes. And I'm just like clapping at the end of the movie. But I was lucky enough that when I was in Korea, it was super cheap to go to Japan. So a friend of mine and I actually went on to the studio tour there.
Oh, wow. That's
and
cool.
I really had this connection of finding something that when I was younger, I didn't feel always like super into Care Bears or the things that were for girls or just around at the time. I wasn't really big into it. So finally finding something that fueled that creativity, that fueled that really just excitement in me, stuck with me all the way up until, 21 now, and I was 21 when I went. But being able to go and just see that, and through the years seeing something that hasn't really changed. Like you watch their movies now and it's still that same style, it's still that same passion when they make movies.
But it generates in you that same emotion as well, right? But then it also takes you back to a time where you shared that with somebody else, and then that memory gets that to me is like I said, Star Wars. I love Star Wars, of course, but it's not my biggest thing. But my biggest emotional driver, to your point, to the question, is it is Star Wars because it has affected me so deeply in so many levels. It was first level is career, second level is my family, but third level also was, sharing that with a lot of other people. My biggest memory was being at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, when we're with the trailer I'm Home is debuting, and I'm in an arena with 4,000 other people. Like I wasn't even in the overflow room. I was in the main arena with all these fans. At that time, we had revealed the armor. It was like an incredible experience for me. But when that trailer came home, it still makes me tear up. When that trailer came on, and I hear all these people around me at the same moment, that collective experience, I cried. I cried with them because it was. For me, it was a bunch of emotions at the same time. It was like, I've been working really hard. We have been working on the licensing program, and all those things were culminating at that moment. And I was so happy to share that with them. And plus, I was so relieved and tired. And but also, it was sharing in their moment and in their joy. Their joy infected me. And so when I go to these events and these fan conventions, and I would be so, it was hard. It's hard work working on a franchise and in a business and running it and the financials behind it and having to accomplish those things on a daily basis. That's exhausting. But for me, I would get re-energized every time I would go to either a San Diego Comic-Con or some other event and share that with them, and they would not know who I was and that I had worked on the product that they were gushing about. Like that was amazing for me, and it still is amazing for me. That's my emotional driver, I guess, behind Star Wars. But that's more of a kind of professional,
kind of like a mix of everything.
Yeah, a mix of everything together. So cool. Any other questions?
Actually, there's a second question or another question which I think kind of almost goes what you said, but it's actually a little different, and it's from Timo Okola. He was asking, hello Timo. he was asking, also interesting to hear what is the most iconic moment for you from a Star Wars movie or series?
Oh, okay. That one's...
You want to take that one?
I don't know. I think that was easy for me.
Go ahead.
I think personally, the one of the most iconic moments from Star Wars has to be. I mean, obviously, it's like the "I am your father," right? That's a big one. But for me, the most what was it? Impactful? Is that
iconic?
What it was? Iconic? I don't know. For me, it comes from the prequels. It's in episode 3 when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting, right? And the underlying themes that are residual beneath that fight is like so meaningful to me. I don't know why, but it's brother against brother, and it's like it's almost more, that fight is almost more spiritual than it is physical. Like when they're done with it, and we've got someone here who's gonna watch the movies later, but I can't really go into it like.
Come on, it's been like a 20-year spoiler alert. Like I think we're safe.
I'll
We
cover
could-
my ears until the end.
You know, when Obi-Wan is like, "Oh, I loved you," and Anakin's sitting there and he's so gone. He's so far gone. He's just like, "I hate you," right? Like that is for me. Someone says, "What is Star Wars to you?" And I'm like, that scene pops in my head right there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any other questions for now?
We have one more question
Okay.
from Gensit0916.
Hi, Mom.
Hi guys. What social media platform are your go-to every day to keep up with the shows, movies you love, and why?
Ugh. Okay, so because I'm, running a business, my first things is always like, LinkedIn and all my trade newsletters and all this, because I'm keeping up on the business of what's going on with everybody else's franchise. But if I'm looking at it from a personal standpoint, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook and I'm, kind of delving deeper into the streaming platforms, all those other things.
For me, it's a little bit different just because a lot of what I keep up with is from Korea, and Korea has a lot of their own apps. So keeping up with, I guess, with K-pop, a lot of it, the most mainstream for me is obviously Instagram. And then having VLive, which is basically like Insta Live, but only for Korean celebrities to interact with fans. So they'll have their streams and you can chat with them and do stuff like that.
VLive, check it out. Maybe it'd be something interesting for you guys.
So yeah, that's really the big one for me. And then that's it really, like the Instagram and VLive are the two, and then the Dom cafes, but they're literally just so you can write back and forth or find out information of events on the artists. But that one's all in Korean, so that one's a bit of a struggle for me.
For me, I keep up more on like games or movies, and so I'm more on YouTube or Twitch if I'm like getting like feedback or like from people live streaming, whatever. YouTube, Twitch, Instagram for posts a little bit, but that's really it. To be honest, that's mostly what I go for.
So, part of these social media outlets as well is also kind of our emotional outlets, right? And talking to our community and expressing ourselves. So how do we think, we're all wearing our gear, right? And you have gear, but it's off camera as well, but how do we look at the licensed goods that we all, kind of accumulate along the way? I see them as an extension of a brand and as a franchise, right? And for me, my philosophy in licensing is it's a conversation, right? It's a moment in time to have a conversation with the fan. That is not a chunk of plastic. It's not an action figure. It is in its essence, right? But really, when you boil it down, for me, it has always been a moment in time to recreate a story, right? If you've seen it on the screen, you're recreating that thing. It's a handshake and it's a conversation with the fan for them to be able to pick it up and express themselves in that moment, in that time of their fandom. That's always been my philosophy behind how I approach my work, right? So what do you guys on the other side, the consumers of it, how do you look at the licensed goods?
Well, for me, again, back to K-pop, it's a lot of times when you're wearing your stuff, it's kind of like trying to be the most colorful peacock. You want to have something to show off because here, when you're walking down the street, obviously, if you're kind of in your civilian clothes, people aren't going to know, oh, they like Star Wars, oh, they like BTS.
Right.
But when we walk down the street, people have like a lanyard, or maybe for me, I just like pins because I like kind of like the subtlety of it. So I'll have maybe some little pins on my backpack. I collect them. And that's kind of the big one of I'll be walking down the street and someone might see Hyako or BTS or another band and be like, oh, you like K-pop? And they'll stop me and be like, hey, I know that. So that's a really big thing for me is having that. And then another one is collecting the photo cards that come with the albums. And I really like having the collection of them. And I know many fans will buy 20 plus copies of a single album just to get all of those photo cards. And I've had
completists.
Yeah. And there's sometimes where you have a group like EXO. I know all these names mean nothing to you guys, but
some of them I know some.
I think there's probably like one person on here, and that's my mom who knows what I'm talking about. But like EXO, there would be albums where their company released one version of an album per member.
Oh, wow.
And there were a lot, or actually there was one where they had two versions of the album per member. So each one had a different set of photo cards. So I had a friend who bought 37 albums.
Wow.
And each album is $21, $24. So it's not like...
And it's the same music on the...
Yeah, it's the exact same one. All they wanted was a different photo book and or a different photo card, which you saw on the back of my laptop. I had two of them. So it really is just trying to show that support also for the artist of saying, I bought all these albums. Hey, I love you. I have all your cards.
Cool.
Yeah.
How do you like it? Or how do you see it?
I don't know. I see it as like, it depends on what type of like item it is too, though. Like for me, clothing is a big thing for fandoms. Like I kind of collect hats a little bit. Like I have a My Hero Academia hat. I have myself a Star Wars hat. I have several Star Wars hats actually. I have my Pokemon hat. Like I have different things. I have a Levi's jeans hat. I don't know why, but I do. It's just like these. I collect hats of things that either I wear a lot or I like a lot. Sometimes I just buy them because I like supporting companies. But like for me, clothing is a way to express what you like without having to say it, right? So like I'm wearing a Dragon Ball shirt and a Star Wars jacket right now, right? You see me on the street, I look like the most mixed-matched fandom like possible, right? But you like either of those things, and you come up to me and you're like, hey, I like your shirt, and right there I know you like Dragon Ball, right? And I'm like, cool. And if I wish, I can pursue that, and I can be like, who's your favorite character? Oh, whatever. Nice. Bye. Have a nice day, right? And right there you've made a nice friend or acquaintance. But like if you're buying, I don't know, anything else, right? That it's like Star Wars themed, or it's Dragon Ball themed, or Naruto, or whatever, or it's Pokemon, whatever your niche is. It's like, let's say it's a baseball bat, because they make those. Like, I remember seeing Clone Wars baseball bats. But if that's your thing, then that's how you express what you like. And I think that being able to express what you like is kind of the part that makes the consumer portion of the fandom. Because if there was no purpose to buying it, nobody would. That's the thing. And purchasing things part of fandoms, like action figures and paperweights, right? Like those are little things that you can do, that you can buy. Sometimes they're not so little, to express what you like. And people are social creatures by nature. They like telling people things, right? So I like telling people. I don't really like to speak and boast about things I like, whatever. But I'll buy clothing because that's a way to tell you without me having to.
Right. It's a subtle signal between you and the outer world, and then people can draw in. You can draw them in and have that conversation with them if you wanted to. And so, a lot of this stuff is being sold at fan conventions, and we touched a little bit on that before, but, when it's an experience, then it's like a sensory overload. If you ever have been to a fan convention, you have to take it in bits and pieces, because it can be overload. It can be a sensory overload and overwhelming. But what really, there's a lot of goods being traded and sold, and aftermarket sold and auctioned. All kinds of different things are happening on the exhibit floor. So how do you feel about these types of events, not only just from a community standpoint, but more from the the merchandising standpoint? And sometimes people are like, oh, this is great value. And sometimes people are like, this is just a tchotchke thing and you're overcharging me for it. So how do you feel about the mix of things that you find at fan conventions?
I think there's a lot of stuff at fan conventions that I've bought that if I saw it online, I'd be like, I don't need that. But when you're there, and again, you're surrounded by that hype of everyone who's so excited for it, and you're in that overload of, you see it in this style, in this one, like you keep seeing it over and over, you're going to be like, I really want that. And then I'd be like, I don't need an A shirt. And then I go to the next one, still don't need it. And by the last year, like I have like 4. It's just really that overload is one of the things that pushes you to buy it. So yeah, it might feel like it's overpriced, but you're in that moment. The fan is in something that a lot of times they only get it once a year or once every few years, so they have to like save up that money to go. So they are gonna spend more, kind of like when people go to Disney for the first time. Or if you're going there for the first time, or it's an annual thing for your family, you're gonna buy all those things in the park. Same thing for these conventions. If you're going that one time, you're going to want to buy more. You're going to want to get everything to show. I went to this event and I love this specific thing as well.
So, there's some science to creating the merchandise and putting it out there and the pricing and the quality and all that stuff. But then there seems to be some magic behind it as well, right? It's incalculable as to how that transaction is going to take place. So, and what are some of those factors? And you guys are the ones that have to tell us, you as the fan base, you're the whole representative of the fan base, by the way, in all the world, today. So, those are the things that I've gotten questions on and throughout my career is like, how do you know what's going to sell, what's not going to sell? Number one, I'm a fan myself, so I try to look at it from that perspective. Like I put that on, but then it's only one filter. I don't make things just for myself. And I've seen other colleagues of mine that really get down this path of creating product or are really excited about product. And they're like, but it's been the one thing that they've always wanted. Great, we'll sell one, right? And that's a hard decision to make when you're in that type of business, when you see the love that is being put into that design or the piece or what have you, but you also see the business, perspective and how many will be sold. And so that's where sometimes I get the question from fans like, why has this character never been made? Or why are we not doing this? Or because we can only sell 1 or 2 or 5, and that's it. And unfortunately it's the requirement. So, if you had a wish of something to, I know I'm springing it on you,
right?
But if you had a wish of something that you could ever have created, what would that be? Regardless of fandom or product type or whatever, because maybe somebody's out there listening today that could help make that happen. So what would be one of your wishful things that you could have?
Wow, on the spot. Let's see. No, I have a lot of different fandoms that I absolutely love, right? But if it was one thing and it was like the be all end all, right? I would want like a life-size replica of Jiraiya's Toad Sage scroll.
Oh wow!
From
okay.
Naruto, where you could just open it and
that'd
read all
be
the
so
read
cool.
all the ninjutsu, right, and then close it again or whatever. I think that would be just so it comes with the rope. Oh, if it comes with the rope. You sling it over your back and wear it right here on the side, or whatever. I mean, you could always cosplay make one.
I hope Alexander from Viz Media is watching.
Yeah. But that in and of itself, right? Just being able to have the scroll, put it on a wall, put it on a shelf or something, be like, this is a replica of Jiraiya's scroll, right? Like, that is just so cool to me.
That's
I don't
sick.
know.
That would be actually really cool.
What about you? Anything that you've ever wished for?
I'm about to drop a bunch of things you guys will
Go.
have no idea, so I'm gonna
Go
have empty
for it.
stairs in this room.
Go for
But
it.
so for me, my favorite K-pop group was BAP. Now they're disbanded, so especially now, my stuff probably, if I want anything from them, is gone. But for me, they had these little characters per member called Motoki, and they were like these space alien bunnies.
Oh,
I know,
funny.
it sounds crazy. Yes, you see, but I loved all of them. I loved each one for each member, and my favorite was the red one, which was Shishi. So to have some sort of be able to have a big doll or something of it would have been amazing for me. That's something I've always wanted, just because I love the group so much, and I loved the rabbit so much. For me, it's my favorite icon out of any sort of band or group. So I would have like always wanted that thing.
That's cool. We have a question, I think.
We actually have a comment and a questions. Going back to the point about picking other fans by what they're wearing, we have here Kathy Avila. She was saying that she once shouted from across the street, from a street corner to someone on the opposite corner because of their band shirt they were wearing.
Oh, that's cool.
So-
Katie, hi. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's so
See, and that
cool.
happens. That hey, you cross the window.
Yeah.
So we also have another question from Mark Edwards. And the question is, since fans are getting older, what trends do you see on the horizon and how franchise will market to their fandom?
Okay,
Well,
so
I think they're already
say
doing
that again though, because there's a couple layers in there.
So it says, since the fans are getting older,
Right.
what trend do you see on the horizon with how franchise will market to their fandom?
I don't think it's on the horizon. I think it's here, actually. Like, you go on Netflix, and they redid the first Pokemon movie. They redid Saint Seiya, I think it is. they're redoing all these. Transor Z came out with a movie not too long ago.
Okay, so for people who don't know, Transor Z and Massinger Z are the same characters. They were just known in different parts of the world, different ways. So I grew up calling him Transor Z. A lot of other people know him as Massinger. So back to your Transor Z.
They came out with the movie, was it Infinity?
Yeah, Massinger
They came out with that movie. Dragon Ball's making a huge resurgence, like all over the world. Like you
Ultraman.
got Ultraman recently came back on Netflix,
which was badass.
Yeah, like all these things. Godzilla's coming back in the theaters with King of the Monsters and the 2016 movie and Godzilla vs. King Kong, which is gonna be great.
Yeah.
But like I don't think it's on the horizon. I think it's here and it's slowly it's like reappearing. But like you see all these old things getting revamps and redos and movies and things like that. So I don't think that I really see, or maybe what I see on the horizon is more of what we have now, which is more like retellings of the same stories, but you know, with 4K graphics, because we've got that. So maybe we'll get to see some of the greats, you know, back again. Like I don't know, what's a really good old thing? I don't know, Silverhawks, right? Like maybe,
let's go way back, like. You know, I like the old monster movies.
Yeah.
Like the old black and white, the original Universal monsters. You know, I was watching the other day, The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, I love that one so
I
much.
love that, right? So maybe it's things like that where we're going even further.
Right.
Because a lot of these stories, you guys know them because your parents have told you, right? Or somebody like their parents have told them. You know, what if they don't know those stories? What are those people, your friend, even your friends that we've, you know, encountered and such, they don't know these characters and their background and why actually a current character that they're watching in a show or a movie even has any relevancy, because they have to know the backstory of these other films or franchises to even connect that. So I don't think it's a trend. I would say that it's something that we should look to as an industry or as a group of entertainers, that we should look even further and deeper to retell those stories in relevant ways to the younger generation so that we can keep those stories alive and those great
and I think they already do have practice with that, because again, with your guys' generation going on to us, they already have seen what it's like to have fans go from being children to adults and then having their own children and teaching that, so, and showing them everything that they like. So again, I think it's the power of the revamps to be able to bring stuff back in a way that now adults can enjoy something that they had when they were younger, but maybe in a darker tone or something that's more mature for them. And then they can also retell it in a cuter way or even a similar way to get that younger generation. And then they have new retellings like with Invisible Man. They just released a movie and they're trying to do that whole revamp of their Universal Monster series. So I think there is the power in that.
And Mummy couldn't have gone better, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
There was way much more potential there. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things was, like, Joker was a big hit, right? In the box office, dropping, you know, getting... Well, he got
an award.
He got an award for something or other.
It was
a great movie. It was a great movie. It was a great movie. But one of the things was that movie, a lot of people didn't realize, I only realized because I'm an old man in a young body.
True.
Is that movie's very heavily like similar or maybe based off of an old movie from, I don't know when Technicolor was around. It's called it was called King of Comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Joker was very, very similar, very heavily based off of King of Comedy, and it got, I don't want to say it got away with excessively bad, but like it was able to slide past unnoticed because a lot of people went to go see it my age. They didn't watch King of Comedy. They don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was kind of like an Easter egg or if that was like something like
conscientiously done.
Yeah. Like if here's a little, if you know sort of thing, right? There's your gift. But if you don't, it doesn't harm the movie because I saw Joker. I think I've seen it twice now, right? The first time I saw it, I just loved it. I just loved it for Joker. I just loved it for Batman. I loved it for Bruce Wayne, whatever. I loved it for the story bits. Second time I watched it, I picked up on King of Comedy. I picked up on like the riff on TV shows, like TV talk shows that are on today or whatever. Like I picked it up for more subtle things.
From my generation, we would all remember Johnny, right? Like late night, you know, where he would interview people in that certain particular fashion. You know, like that was very iconic when he was the forerunner too of like what late night show comedy or TV is like
Jimmy
today.
Kimmel.
You know, yeah, he was the one who kind of
Streamline that.
yeah, broke the ground on that kind of type of show. So, do we have some more comments or questions?
We got one question from Gensit0916. What is the newest brand, show, group you are starting to follow and why?
Brand, show, or group that we are starting to follow.
Oh, I got mine. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
Go.
So my new brand, and the only reason it's new to me is because I just I just bought myself a computer maybe 3-4 years ago, right? And so I'm just getting into PC gaming, right? For me, Riot's just the brand Riot, like League of Legends especially. I'm just getting into that with like a few friends that are showing me stuff around, but it's when it helps that I have friends because there's that community thing. But like
Having friends is always helpful.
no, yeah, but like no, I mean like it helps.
I feel like that's like a jab at me now for earlier.
No.
Just like, well, I have friends, so
no, but it's nice to have friends because I wanted to get into it, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I have friends that one liked it already and two could show me what to do. But I'm getting into that brand now because I'm a huge fan of storytelling, and they have subtle storytelling even though it's a repetitive game. So I don't really play it for the game. I play it for the character stories because they have like 150
So
characters.
note to franchise and brand owner, storytelling is key.
Yeah.
Storytelling is a really big part of keeping your fans engaged.
Storytelling is what sells the story, and if you don't want to
Sells the franchise.
or sells the character. Sorry.
Yeah.
Storytelling is what sells the character, and if you don't want to fall into, I don't want to call it names, but Blizzard.
Don't throw out names or anything. I might want to ever have a Blizzard person on the show.
No, but I'm saying like
just the whole company itself.
Blizzard's Overwatch fell into a trap where they started adding characters and adding this great detailed story, but 3 years later they haven't advanced it. They just have really detailed stop markers. Like they don't really have a continually growing story, and Riot was great about that. Like they've been in business 10 years with League of Legends, and there's comic books made by Marvel. There's like cinematics, and they're just doing really well with it. So storytelling is key if you want to sell a character.
But not only just the character, the entire franchise itself, right?
Yeah.
And it has to have. The other thing about what I've seen in licensing is that it's the layered effect of the stories, right? Not effect, I should say, the layers of the stories, where it's it's the brand, it's the idea. Then it's the characters, then it's the worlds, the vehicles, the family backstories, all these things that you break down into their simpler components. Those are the things that I then look at to see how I can put into licensing, right? And then create into the products that people buy and hopefully enjoy and all that stuff. So it's really all the multi-layers that provide a richness to not only keeping fans engaged, and keep them playing and keep them coming back. But then for us, from the business side, it gives us opportunities to then break it all up, create different things around it, and then put it out to then hopefully then again engage fans in a different way as well. So that's all part of the licensing factor. So we are getting close to the end. Yeah, right.
It went pretty fast.
It went pretty fast. Just be sure to continue to come back if you have enjoyed this. I've enjoyed. Thank you for.
So when's the next one?
When's the next one? Good thing you should ask. Well, it is called FanGirl Friday Live.
Wow.
It is going to be back on Fridays, unless there's another opportune moment to.
Yeah, which I'm kind of sad we missed Alien Day.
I know.
April 26th.
Yeah, but that wasn't a Sunday. Then we would have had to do FanGirl Friday Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Friday's the FanGirl week.
I mean, we already have FanGirl Friday launching on a Monday, so it'd just be like FanGirl weekday at this point.
I'll just intersperse into and break up your schedules every day.
Every day.
FanGirl every day. So just look for us again on a Friday. We will be more regularly scheduled on Fridays. Drop us a comment, drop us questions. We'll continue to try and engage if we can. And then also, future topics. If you're interested in seeing something else, if you liked this, but you want to talk about something else, or have us talk about something else, we will certainly find other colleagues that we are searching for recruiting, and new franchises and new things to talk about, but always with that business spin as well, so that we can make sure that we are doing a little education. So yes, Fridays is all about having a lot of fun and having a good bit of knowledge as well.
And if you have any ideas during the week, you can always DM a request for us for later on, or you can even drop some sort of questions or anything you have under one of the posts we have about FanGirl Friday Live.
Yeah, for sure. And we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and of course you could probably find us on LinkedIn as well. So that's it. That's all, folks. Have a wonderful Star Wars day, and may the 4th be with you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.